The small town of Havenwood, nestled in the rolling hills of northern Georgia, was the kind of place where strangers could blend in, but secrets rarely stayed buried. In the summer of 2023, Sarah Bennett stepped off a dusty bus, her only possession a worn duffel bag slung over her shoulder. She'd chosen Havenwood for its quiet obscurity, a place where a woman with scars she couldn't hide and a past she couldn't share might go unnoticed. The long-sleeved shirt she wore covered the jagged marks on her arms, but the scar snaking from her jaw down her neck was impossible to conceal. She took a job at the Starlight Diner, hoping to fade into the background. But in a town full of veterans from the nearby Fort Grayson base, her guarded demeanor and precise movements drew attention she didn't want. The diner's owner, Marcus Reed, a former Navy man with a no-nonsense attitude, hired Sarah on the spot. Her posture screamed military, though she hesitated when he asked about her service. "Army," she said curtly, and he didn't push. The regulars, a mix of locals and veterans, weren't so restrained. A group of older vets, led by Lieutenant Colonel Nathan Cole, claimed the corner booth daily, their laughter often turning cruel when Sarah passed. "Hey, Scarface, what's your story? Kitchen fire or bar fight?" sneered Jake Harper, a younger vet with a chip on his shoulder. Sarah ignored them, her hands steady as she poured coffee, but Nathan's sharp eyes caught the way she scanned exits and gripped a butter knife like a weapon. One evening, as Sarah cleaned tables after closing, her sleeve slipped, revealing a tattoo, stylized hawk clutching a lightning bolt, the emblem of Phantom Squad, a covert unit officially erased after a disastrous 2010 mission in Afghanistan. Nathan froze, recognizing the mark from whispered rumors in his Special Forces days. Sarah's carefully crafted anonymity was crumbling. The past she'd buried in desert dust had followed her to Havenwood, and the men who mocked her scars had no idea they were taunting a predator, not prey. Sarah's first weeks passed in a haze of routine, but tension simmered beneath the surface. The diner's head waitress, Clara Monroe, watched Sarah with thinly veiled suspicion, her comments sharp but professional. "That's some scar," Clara said once, loud enough for others to hear. "Accident." Sarah's reply was flat, something like that. In the kitchen, a young cook named Ethan, his arms covered in tattoos, offered a grin and a warning to Clara, "Ease up. Not everyone's here to spill their guts." But Jake's taunts grew bolder, egged on by boredom and a need to feel superior. "What's with the silence, sweetheart? Hiding something?" he'd call, smirking. Sarah stayed calm, but Nathan noticed her precision, every move deliberate, like a soldier on high alert. One night, alone in her rented room above a feed store, Sarah opened a leather notebook and wrote, "Day 142. They haven't found me yet." Her fingers traced the scar on her neck, memories flooding back, blazing sand, a burning Humvee, dragging a wounded comrade to safety. She shut her eyes, but the images clung like smoke. Downstairs, Havenwood hummed with evening life, porch lights glowing, kids biking past, normalcy she'd never know again. Her tattoo, fully exposed in the dim light, read Phantom Squad, "We fade so others shine." It was a badge of a unit that never existed, according to the Pentagon. Trouble brewed when Clara, snooping in the locker room, found a singed Phantom Squad patch in Sarah's bag, along with discharge papers she couldn't fully read before Marcus's footsteps interrupted. The next day, Jake's taunts turned pointed. "Stolen valor, huh? Pretending to be one of us," he said, loud enough for the diner to hear. Nathan's voice cut through. "Enough, Jake." But his eyes locked on Sarah's tattoo, now briefly visible, and his suspicion deepened. The tipping point came when a stranger walked into the Starlight, a man in his 50s, polished boots, and a military bearing. Colonel David Pierce, Sarah's old commander, called her by her real name, Sergeant Bennett. The diner went silent. "You've been hard to find," he said, his smile cold. "We have unfinished business." He claimed she held classified intel from a botched mission, but Sarah knew the truth. Pierce was protecting a decade-long weapons trafficking scheme she'd uncovered. Marcus stepped in, his old service revolver visible. "My diner, my rules. Get out." Pierce left a card, promising to return. That night, Sarah found a military-grade listening device in a napkin holder. She crushed it, texting Nathan, "They're here." The next morning, Pierce returned with 2 armed men, presenting a warrant accusing Sarah of treason. Chaos erupted when Jake and his buddies, misreading the situation, stormed in, shouting about fraud. Nathan tackled Pierce, giving Sarah a chance to escape through the back. She grabbed Marcus's truck keys and fled, knowing running was only a delay. In the hills outside Havenwood, Sarah hid in Marcus's old hunting cabin. Alone, she fired a flare into the night sky, a desperate signal. Hours later, a voice called from the darkness. "Phantom 2, is that you?" Major Aisha Grant, presumed dead, emerged, leaning on a cane. "They buried us in silence," Aisha said. "But we're not done." Together, they pieced together the truth. Their 2010 mission was a setup to cover a weapons deal Pierce orchestrated. Aisha had a USB drive with proof names, dates, transactions. As Pierce's men closed in, Sarah and Aisha set traps, using the forest to their advantage. Jake, guilt-ridden after learning Pierce had used him, created a diversion, buying them time. But gunfire erupted. Aisha was hit. Sarah bandaged her, taking the drive. "Finish this," Aisha whispered. Sarah returned to Havenwood, uploading the files to a secure server with Ethan's help at the library. Pierce cornered her at a construction site, but Sheriff Lena Carter, tipped off by Nathan, arrived with a Pentagon order suspending Pierce's operation. He was arrested, the truth exposed. Months later, the Starlight Diner became a haven for veterans, renamed Last Stand Shelter. Sarah, no longer hiding her scars, led the effort. Aisha recovered, testifying before Congress. The shelter thrived, a beacon for those scarred by war. One evening, a young girl with burn scars admired Sarah's tattoo. "Yours tell a story of strength," Sarah told her. "Just like mine. What would you sacrifice to expose a truth that could destroy you? Should soldiers like Sarah risk everything for justice? Or is silence sometimes the safer path?" Comment below, like, and subscribe for more stories of heroes who fight impossible battles. Word count, 1,990 characters.